So answering your questions in 2019, this one is for Oink Oink, who asked me, who said, you seem to be happy with all the internal plugins of Logic, for example. Why do you not have any of the other plugins that other producers or other musicians seem to swear by? Well, I think this has been going through my mind for a while, really, now. Having gone to other studios and worked in other studios as a session musician and listening back to mixes. Well, first of all, my setup here includes this very, very old MacBook. Now, somebody would say, why don't you buy a new computer? And, well, as you can see, this one works, and it works fine. It has a very, very, very old operating system in Mac terms. It runs 10.4.11. I don't even know what animal that is. Mountain lion, I think. But I don't know. Tiger? Oh, I don't know. I don't care. The fact that it records what I do and is able to do the things that I ask of it is the main thing. Now, I come from an era where when I started recording my own things, or started making tunes up, it was the late 1980s. So I had a 4-track cassette recorder and some outboard equipment, outboard reverbs and compressors. I've still got those things, and I still use them sometimes. And actually, the sound of them is quite different to this. So when this came along, when I got Logic, when I opened the case of my Logic Pro 7 DVD, as it was then, with these massive instruction manuals. Here we go, look. Logic Pro 7 reference. You don't get that anymore. It was amazing. I had all sorts of things at my fingertips. All sorts of tricks and things that I could employ to make my mixes sound better. And I still have those plugins. Now, that's one thing, of course, if you get used to something and you can get the best from it, then why change anything? Now, I've got a few things in here. At the moment, you're listening to this presentation. I've maximised it for YouTube, but I've also I can put my vocal through a compressor. So if I just maybe just change the threshold of my compression so that it's squashing down, you can see the meter here is squashing down. Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes. That sounds all right to me. I don't think there's an issue with it. Lots of people say, oh yeah, but why don't you try the new Opto by this instrument? Oh, okay, yeah, I'll try it. Yeah, it sounds nice. Yeah, it's fine. But it won't work on this machine because this machine's too old. So that's one reason I've got the old compressor. Why don't you buy a new computer? I've already said that sentence, haven't I? Well, no, I'm quite happy with this one. So there are lots and lots of plugins on this which do a fairly decent job. I'm just going to just take that threshold of the compressor down so that my voice is a bit clearer and a little bit narrower and dynamic. That's the point of a compressor. Every time I'm speaking loudly, you can see that the meter is stripping off that level so that it's essentially taking 0 noise to maximum. It's doing this. It's lowering the peaks, and then what I do is turn up the gain at the end, and it does that. That's the job. That is the job of the compressor. That's it. Now, if I go to the delay here, it's fine. You know, you set it to what you want, and then enjoy the sound. And that's fine. You can do all the things on this that you can do on a modern delay. That is, you can vary the time in terms of the tempo that you've got. Now, that's something I didn't have. When I started with my outboard effects, you had to set the time in milliseconds. I remember that from the studio where I used to work, where there was a reference sheet on the corner of every mixing desk that we had that said how many milliseconds you'd need to set the delay for a particular note value at a particular tempo. And it was this big cross-reference grid, sort of laminated sheet. So, and then we've got things like the reverb here. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, if you don't know me by You will never, ever, ever know me. Ooh. It does the job that is required of it. You can have more reverb, you can have less, you can vary the room size, you can vary how many walls it's got, you can do all manner of things. Now, one of the reasons I also like these plugins is because they don't have the pretty pictures that is associated with modern plugins. They make them look nice on the computer, and I'm often left wondering why. Because it's not the sound, it's not the visual that you're trying to perfect. It's what's going on in your ears. It's what's going on in your headphones or your speakers. It's an audio thing. So why does it look pretty? Maybe it's because it's easier to sell, perhaps. But there's one that has a tape machine simulator, an analog tape recorder that you can put over the left and right outputs of your mix to make it sound a bit crunchy. And yeah, they sound really good, but you can see the tape going around with the tape. And I think lots of people of the sort of younger generation who didn't grow up with that are kind of fascinated by the technology and look at the sort of reels moving around, not necessarily giving the sound their full attention. Now, I'm just going to bypass that reverb now, and I'm going to get rid of it to reveal this. Now, this is the other side of, I think lots of the synths on this are good, and it's very telling that the Sculpture synth that's built into Logic Pro 7 is still built into Logic Pro X. That means something. That means it's a good plugin if it lasts 15 years and is still part of the program. Now, I've got the Guitar Amp Pro here, which is a fairly sort of rudimentary guitar amp simulator. Sounds all right. Yeah, and it's different to this. It's professing to be a UK combo 30 watts, which is this. It's the AC30. Somebody says, it doesn't sound like an AC30. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. If you like the sound of something that you've plugged into on the computer, you use it. And think, well, actually, this is a ton more convenient than getting my amp mic'd up in a studio and dealing with all the hum and all the noise and all the other things and having to mic it up and having to get the mic position right. Granted, for me as a guitarist, I do like micing amps up to record. I do like it, and I do prefer it over this. But if you plug into something like this, if you're in a little room or you're in some little room somewhere and you need to get some guitar parts down, it's very convenient. Things like the changing the sound. If I just go to UK top 50 watts. Fairly ropey guitar playing there, but this is a 50 watt Marshall amp. It's like a master volume or, that sort of thing, a JCM 800 type thing. So we've got all of this stuff. You can change the speaker cabinet that you use. You've even got a spring reverb built into this, which is pretty good. There's nothing wrong with it. It works. This is the reason why I use all these plugins still. And I don't have any, new stuff. I do have Guitar Rig on this, which is fantastic. And you can drag in pedals and effects and different speaker cabinets, but it's essentially a very pictorial version of this. Although it is, I think, for me, a better sound at recreating a guitar amp. But here we are. If you've got a guitar amp in your studio that you like the sound of, mic it up and record it. It's fine. The advantage of this, of course, is that you can change the sound after you've recorded. At the moment, my guitar is going straight in to a plugin on the sound card. So my guitar at the moment, for example, is not going through any guitar amp at all. It's like you've plugged it into a DI box. This is useful because you can reamp something. You can send an output from with your clean guitar and go through a guitar amp, and I'm going to make a separate little video about how to do that. So I hope that answers some question, the question about the plugins. It's not that I don't like the new stuff. It's more about the hassle generated when you load something in and it makes your digital audio workstation, it makes your Logic or Cubase crash, or the operating system of your computer can't deal with it, or it needs more RAM, or it needs more this, or it needs more that. That's one of the reasons why I've stuck with this for so long. I love it, and I think it gives me all the sounds I could ever want.